NFTs are bad. Everybody knows this. Take a look at Discord, for example. They were planning to add an integration feature where users could add their NFTs and verify them on Discord's platform, thus allowing them to change their profile picture and verify that they own that NFT. However, people on Twitter threw an absolute temper tantrum. Discord then promptly backed down and said they wouldn't be integrating these new features for NFTs, at least for now. So obviously the people on Twitter are 100% right and know exactly what they're talking about. All right. I'm not getting away with that one. But their arguments and attacks on NFTs must have some merit, at least, right? But then again, I think about it and we've seen Facebook, Twitter, Discord, Reddit, basically every social media platform openly talking about ways they plan to integrate or adapt NFTs and how they're shifting their platforms to adopt Web3. Even publishers like EA and Ubisoft have talked about how they're going to bring NFTs into their games. Not to mention, many very large brands are already figuring out how they can use this new technology for their products and services. So this begs the question, why are so many people so upset about NFTs while major companies and major brands are quickly working to adopt them? Let's take a look at the main arguments from these anti-nifties. And yes, I just came up with that term literally right now. It's the best I got. If you don't like it, I don't blame you. Maybe you should take your anger out on that like button. It looks like it needs a good smack across the face, so there you go. Like anything new, change is usually met with skepticism. For example, the world threw a fit when Apple decided to remove the headphone jack from their phones. But now, it's pretty commonplace that most earbuds and wireless headphones all use Bluetooth, which is pretty objectively a lot better than a wire that might take you 10 minutes to untangle just to listen to a new Drake single. With all that being said, let's break this down into the three main arguments that these anti-nifties have against NFTs. And for those of you watching this video, I highly encourage you to get extremely vocal about your thoughts on NFTs in the comments down below. Do you love them? Do you hate them? Are they good? Are they bad? Let's hear it. Argument number one. Why can't I just take the JPEG, right click, and save as on my computer? It's literally just a picture, it has no value. This is by far the most prominent argument that I hear, and it's definitely become a meme on Twitter. And I think that this comes largely from the lack of understanding and just general knowledge of what an NFT is and why it has value in the first place. I can see why people who don't understand the value of NFTs would quickly say, well, it's just a picture, I can save it and put it anywhere that I want to, and then immediately attack NFTs for being way overvalued. I mean, after all, the truth is that JPEGs and pictures, PNGs online are not that scarce. I mean, they're all over the internet. Yes, you can right-click save a picture of an ape, for example, but the question really remains, why does that ape have the value worth $250,000? Where does that value come from? An even better question really would be, why does right-click saving that photo not have the same value as someone who actually owns that NFT? What's the difference? First, it's utility. You can think of an NFT as a book, and the JPEG is just the cover of the book. And you've heard the cliche, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, this couldn't be more true here because the cover of the book doesn't really represent all of the value that you get from the book, right? The words, the knowledge, the learning, the experience, the story, and ultimately the value that the book has. To reap the rewards of the book, you must first open the book and explore what's inside. You can't just look at the cover and say, oh, that's a terrible book, it has no value. NFTs are very similar. The picture itself or the art itself is simply just the cover of the book. So if we open our metaphorical book here are all the things you can get out of an NFT that add value to it. Exclusive access to events and community features that only the NFT owners have, access to future airdrops, which have been worth up to hundreds of thousands of dollars themselves, access to the creator of the project or the artist of the project, access to the project's private communities and chats that have a bunch of valuable information and connections and relationships that you wouldn't have otherwise, or even yielding tokens for that project that have daily real-world value that you can either hold on to or sell, convert to any other currency of your choice. Most NFTs give commercial rights to the holders of those NFTs. So for example, if you owned a picture of a bored ape, you can take the picture and do nothing with it and right-click save it and spread it all over the internet if you want, or you can commercialize it, make it into a game, into a story, put it on a sneaker, sell that sneaker. Whatever you choose to do with that JPEG, you have the commercial rights to make money off of it in any way that you please. And that's just the beginning. The list goes on. But to bring it all back, the difference between all of that and right-click saving that JPEG is right-click saving the JPEG gives you nothing. Gives you literally nothing other than a digital JPEG, which you can get anywhere on the internet at any time for any reason. But you get none of the things I just talked about. Basically, you get the cover of the book, but none of the book. And you also don't own the cover. So really, you get nothing. Okay, moving on real quick. That's literally just the utility part of the value. One other major area that gives NFTs value over just right-click saving them is the fact that you have verified ownership of that NFT. As you may or may not know, NFTs are verified on the blockchain, which is publicly recognized as something that is valid. So I guess you could say if you don't believe or accept the blockchain, then in theory, you don't believe or accept that NFTs have any value or you don't own the NFTs. But the problem is that there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that have already accepted the blockchain and multiple blockchains as valid and trustworthy. And so that creates clear property ownership of these digital assets. In other words, you can verify that you are the sole owner of this picture of a Bored Ape, and it is a scarce asset because there's literally only one of these verified in the entire world. Argument number 2. NFTs are bad for the environment and NFTs are hurting the planet. In an effort to be as unbiased as possible, I've put this argument second because it actually does hold some merit and some weight to it. I could have easily squished this all at the end of the video and you probably wouldn't have watched that far, thus giving you a biased view on how great NFTs are, but this argument actually has some truth to it. Ethereum, which is by far the most popular blockchain for NFTs currently, does use proof of work to validate all the transactions on the network. This basically means that miners of the network use power to power their graphics cards to mine Ethereum and thus validate the transactions on the network. So yes, Ethereum does use a lot of power. Now, relative to other monetary networks, it doesn't use as much power as people may make it seem, but it does use a lot of power. That is unarguable. Now, we could go into the whole argument of carbon footprint and where that power comes from and how clean that energy is, but I could easily refute any point that an environmentalist would make by saying, well, in everyday life, you use all kinds of different things that don't use clean energy. Just think about your car, for example, or pretty much any power that you use in your house, you have no control of where that comes from. So unless you're using full solar to power your house, you probably use some dirty energy as well. So let's not go there. Let's focus on the argument at hand. NFTs are bad for the environment. Well, the truth is that this argument really isn't about NFTs. It's more so about Ethereum and Ethereum's carbon footprint. Many NFTs are simply on the Ethereum blockchain, but it's Ethereum that actually processes all the transactions each and every day. In fact, Ethereum processes blocks on a set schedule every single day, regardless of whether people are transacting NFTs, minting NFTs, selling NFTs, or not. In other words, NFTs on the Ethereum blockchain don't require any more power than Ethereum already was using. There could be a block with essentially 0 transactions in it, nothing, and that block still requires the same amount of energy to validate it. These blocks are and will continue to be created and validated regardless of what transactions are in them. So in that way, NFTs really don't contribute to any extra power usage than Ethereum already uses. However, there is one exception. When the Ethereum network gets super clogged, for example, if there's a huge mint going on like Mechaverse, where there's a bunch, and I mean like 250,000 people trying to mint the same project, or just if there are a ton of people sending and receiving Ethereum on the network at any given time, that makes the gas fees on the Ethereum network rise. This then incentivizes more people to mine Ethereum because as gas fees rise, the miners get higher rewards. People will pay more to get their transactions validated quicker. Then, in turn, there are more miners added to the overall ecosystem, and typically that means that there will be more energy required to run those miners. It's pretty straightforward. If there's more money to be made, more people will come and more people will put their graphics cards on the network, thus requiring more energy, and more energy means more environmental harm in theory. Now, that's all assuming that the energy being used for these miners is not clean energy, and there's really no great way to determine what the miners use. For the most part, it could be clean energy, and it is incentivizing to use clean energy because usually that's cheaper for miners, but there's no guarantee that that will be a thing for all of them. So to wrap up the second argument here, NFTs aren't directly bad for the environment. However, proof of work mechanisms like we use on Bitcoin and Ethereum are using a lot of energy to process and validate transactions transactions, which in turn could be bad for the environment. However, for other NFT blockchains like Solana, they use proof of history, which is carbon neutral and uses significantly less energy than Ethereum. Even Ethereum is working on layer 2 protocols like Immutable X, which are new platforms for NFTs to live on, which require significantly less energy than Ethereum and basically are also carbon neutral. Ethereum is really the biggest target for NFTs being bad for the environment right now because they are indirectly related, but in 2022, when Ethereum moves to proof of stake, this will dramatically decrease the amount of energy needed for Ethereum to run the network, and thus the NFTs are bad for the environment argument should really come to an end. I personally still think that the motive behind this argument is less about the environment and really more about the misunderstanding or dislike in general of NFTs. When something is not deemed valuable by a group of people, they will tend to say that it's a waste of energy. Yet there are so many things we could talk about that people like you and me use every single day that are also a major waste of energy. And those things can be as bad, if not worse, for the environment. Argument number 3. NFTs are scams or pyramid schemes or used to launder money, which don't even get me started on that one. The media headlines these days are almost always shocking, and that's just because, well, that's what gets clicks. The issue here is that the same people that are making this argument are usually the people that are just reading these headlines and then deducing their entire argument from one misleading headline. You guys should know by now that clickbait doesn't always match up with the content behind it. I mean, here we go. Here are some good examples. The climate controversy swirling around NFTs. NFTs no effing thank you. Dead by Daylight is promoting some stupid NFT. These game developers are choosing to turn down NFT money. Mario Kart NFT idea is the worst thing I have ever read. It seems like Kotaku is really an anti-Nifty. While the headlines tend to shine a negative spotlight on NFTs, there is some truth behind the fact that NFTs are scams. Don't be that person that does exactly what the headlines do and just take that out of context, because here's the thing. There are scams in NFTs, just like any new technology. This technology is extremely new, and any new technology will be exploited for personal gain in the beginning. This is common. Look back to the 2000s and the dot-com bubble, when there were a bunch of email scams impersonating companies like PayPal and eBay trying to fish for your credit card information. There were so many people scammed then too, that lost probably millions of dollars. In the same way, there are definitely scams that are present in the NFT world right now. And this will probably continue to happen until the system matures and until there are systems in place to prevent these things from happening. But for right now, we just need to be careful about which projects we trust. This is probably one reason you should consider subscribing, is because we talk about all these things, what makes a project good, what things to look for, and that will help you identify which projects are suspect and you should stay away from. However, all that being said, the overall NFT market is very legitimate. There are billions of dollars of volume of NFTs being traded every single day, and almost all those projects are legitimate projects. There are going to be some scams and bumps along the way, and that's to be expected with any new technology, as we've said. But generally speaking, the scams are few and far between, which is hopefully how it will continue to go. Don't get caught up in reading one headline on one article and then blowing that argument way out of proportion, because the truth is, that's all it is, a headline. There's not a million examples of this happening. It's one-off examples that happen here and there because people get greedy and take advantage of others when they can. So all in all, there are some valid points in these arguments, yet most of the ones that are actually correlated with NFTs just don't hold much merit. And I have to say, if you've made it this far in the video, definitely feel free to send this to another anti-Nifty that you know, anyone that you know that doesn't believe in NFTs, that doesn't like them, or has any of these arguments. Maybe this video can help them understand a little bit better about these arguments they're making and how they don't hold as much weight as they might have thought. And of course, have an amazing day. Drop a like in the video if you enjoyed, and we'll see you guys all next time. Take care.